and a very non-duplicitous politician. For instance, this one story, remember, it happened a number of times. One time I sold some books in New York to the people in Hawaii. This happened a lot of times, but this comes to mind. And somebody tattled on me, to Prabhupada. Gurudas sold books to those people in Hawaii. So as usual, this is what Prabhupada does. He gets all the parties right there, not letting them go behind anybody's back or this or that. He says, is this so? Gurudas, did you sell $300 and some odd worth of books to these people? And I said, yes. And so Prabhupada looks over at the person who tattled and said, I hear they're chanting the holy name in Hawaii. I hear they're reading my books. And so the person felt very foolish about tattling. And Prabhupada would do that. He would get all the parties involved. So he was a politician, yes, but a non-duplicitous one. Then another jolt came to the London Temple of positive and wonderful energy, and that's Chivakram Maharaj. And if you feel like it, you can come on up too. But it was so wonderful when he came, because another non-duplicitous, straightforward, telling him like it is so. And he just added a lot. It was like someone to chain up the brahmacharis in a sense too. Although we did, but it was just wonderful when he came. And like I say, still straightforward to this day, and somebody that you're very fortunate to have in your presence. So Bari Place is built, and we're ready to. And did you carve the Jagannath? Shamashunda carved the Jagannath like in San Francisco. It was a little bit different in those days, because I remember what was going on out, getting people out of jail, Rishikesh and we were all tying our dogs up in front of the temple in those days. I mean, it was, he spoon-fed us in San Francisco. We all had pets and dogs. After the kirtan, let's go out and have a nice smoke. It was like intermission at an entertainment, you know. Now it's different. And Shamashunda built that, and I think there was a delay in the initial installation.
The installation of the deity that you brought was scheduled for Prabhupada gave us a deadline. It was about a week, 10 days hence, so we had plenty of time, we thought, to build the altar and all the paraphernalia. And then he got a letter or a call from Los Angeles or New York that he had to go in 2 days. We suddenly had to have the whole temple ready for the deity installation in 2 days. And we stayed up day and night working, building. And we had a plan already for the altar, for the canopy and so on over the altar. So we tried to stick to the plan. We had all the materials, working, borrowing tools, getting all the stuff together. So we stayed up all night and built the thing, and the installation was scheduled for 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted, so I went up and just died, crashed. And later I heard that during the installation ceremony, the whole altar collapsed.
I was back there.
I bet Prabhupada was curious.
Well, we didn't have time to be furious, excuse the non-microphone, but it was amazing, because we were back there and the altar was falling down. And Prabhupada and I were holding it up, but I saw the strength. It was like his eyes were gleaming like a lion.
Marble or heavy.
Yeah, but his eyes were like lions. It was like descriptions of Bhaktivedanta when the Viceroy came to visit him. All energy. And we're holding there, and I'm trying to get Jaya to help him. By this time, the temple is filled with people and smoke. somehow or other the fire was full of smoke, and the BBC comes in, and we're back there holding the altar up. And then we got some help, and maybe you came and fixed it or something. But what impressed me so much was the strength of Prophet when he showed the strength. I feel like when he picked up Saraswati, and other times I saw his strength, and this was one time. We were actually holding up the altar, the two of us, and it was behind the curtain, so nobody knew, except, no, I mean, we didn't say, hey, look, the altar's being, have BBC come on over here, and then, you know, we were behind the curtain, so Don and Jaya came and helped a few other and secured it, and then it worked. So, so the installation was successful. And again, I think this would probably be something for Shamashunda or Mukunda to talk about. I was helping out in some ways, but they were more instrumental in the getting of this place where we're sitting, and with George and everything like that. Would you like to say something about that?
Talk about how the manor was done.
Story of how the manor was acquired. Of course, we were getting very crowded at Berry Place. It was becoming, we were living on top of each other practically in that place. And being in the center of town, there was no place around for householders to live, so everyone lived in the temple.
I think there were about 70 people.
70 people.
There were people sleeping in the stairwells, all hallways, everywhere. There was nowhere that wasn't covered in that body.
That's right. And Prabhupada was there. London became sort of his favorite place. He stayed months.
We had to sleep in Prabhupada's room whenever you wanted to.
It was, excuse me, interject, but it was favorite because his Guru Maharaj had sent 3 big sannyasis to start the temple here. And they were able to in 1943, I think, and so he was very happy that we were able to. No, there was many, and sorry, and so this was very, very pleasing to Prabhupada. Not only that, an article came out, Krishna Consciousness Startles London, because we did a great article in the Sunday Times, and they ended it with their next plan is to chant in front of the stock exchange, and what would happen only Krishna knows. And also, Bury Place was getting not only crowded, but the neighbor, Mr. French, was flipping out because the kirtan early in the morning had a little poodle type of dog, a Pekingese that would jump up and down and squeak. And his wife was having a nervous breakdown, and he was working a barrow down at Covent Garden. So he wanted to get us out of there. So we said, well, we'll take your apartment. We won't complain about ourselves. And so he gets the GLC, and then we had the lawyer of the Cockney guy, and then this lawyer who was a fencing champion. You know, we'd say, well, this is going on. He'd say, send me a letter. I said, well, we're standing right here. He's very snotty. And then Mr. French had his lawyer. So we're going along, and there's not enough chairs in the office. We borrowed some from the Theosophical Society down the road, and they're sitting on the desks. And finally, it's breaking down, and so we go downstairs and show them how this temple room was soundproofed. And this was really devious, but we did it. There was a circular window, and our plan was that when the door closed, we'd be playing for like this, when the door closed, and the people sitting in the dongas would be playing them, and when the door closed, we'd go like that. And it was so perfect, it was so silent that they really thought it was soundproof. Mr. French sees this, and he says, there's something going on. He goes upstairs, and he's really angry. And then the fencing guy, the fencing lawyer says, just as we're coming to the crunch, Mr. French, you leave. And Mr. French goes to leave, and the doorknob comes out of his hand, looking at all of us, and he had to claw the door open, and as he clawed the door open, 15 sleeping bags fell out. And and we were zoned for 2 people as caretakers. So Quarry Place was getting, and so then we got the Manor, so we continued. Okay.
Anyway, by this time, I'd made pretty good friends with George, and he had already committed to the publishing the first Krishna book, and I didn't really feel like asking him any further favors, because he'd been so generous up to that point. But yeah, well, Prabhupada said though one day, Shamasundar, I want you to ask George to give us a new temple. Boy, this is going to be a difficult thing for me to do, but somehow or other over the next few days or few meetings, the seed was planted. I never had to ask George for anything outright. It seemed like he always volunteered to give something to Krishna just when it was needed.
Chaitya Guru.
Yeah, but so I forget the exact sequence of events, but he said that he would have his estate agent start looking for a place for us. And I think Mukunda, you and one other devotee coordinated with this estate agent. Am I right? If I remember right? Koshika?
Actually, I went with Don and Jaya one day with George to look at another place that we looked at previous to this place. We walked around the estate and looked at it, talked about it, and all that. That was all.
But George did come to visit Prabhupada at that time and promised Prabhupada that he would find us a place, help us get a place. And it took several months. They looked around until this place was seen. And George called up and said that he thought he had found the best place. And that was Bhaktivedanta. One other incident that comes to mind with George also at this time was when Prabhupada asked me to ask George to print the first version of the Krishna book. And again, I was a little reluctant to do it, and I was waiting for the right opportunity. We were at a mutual friend's house, David Wynn, who was the sculptor, court sculptor or something. He designed the money that we had, that you have in Britain. And I just got the courage to ask George to donate, I think it was 10,000 pounds to publish this book. And suddenly a bolt of lightning hit the street next door or the house next door, and all the lights went out. We were sitting around the table. And when the lights came back on later, George says, well, what else can I do?
Right. Didn't when we left John Lennon's estate, 30 seconds after, wasn't there a storm and a lot of the trees went down? Prabhupada walked in the car and...
But I think one of the things that sustained us mostly, I mean, Gurdas is hitting some of the high points through this entire journey that we made here. But there were a lot of real downtimes, too. We suffered a lot. It was, we had nothing. We had no money, resources whatsoever.
What about the warehouse you lived in? Quality taking care of Saraswati in the warehouse?
Yeah,
It was cold, water was here, we had no money. But what the sustaining factor that kept us going through all this was, I believe, was Prabhupada's humor. Prabhupada instilled in us that Krishna consciousness is fun. And never a day went by that we weren't splitting our sides with something that happened during the day. Everything we did seemed to be fun the whole time.
Yes.
Not just looking back at it, but during the time we were there, we were laughing all the time. And I think that Krishna consciousness is a fun experience, and if it isn't fun, something's wrong.
That's true. And if you're not jolly, it's a good manifestation that you're not getting much out of spiritual life. It's been said too. And Prabhupada was always manifest of being jolly and the best humorist.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Just real quick. I remember one day, and this is back in probably 68 or 69, when I was doing street sankirtan in Los Angeles. We were going out long hours a day and night in the street. And it was real hard. I mean, I was always feeling that good about doing it. I wasn't having a lot of fun sometimes. And I remember one time I was in the mood to leave one night. I was going to leave, but there was Prabhupada was there, he was going to give a lecture. Right? And I remember specifically Prabhupada said, so if one is Krishna conscious, he must be jolly. He must be happy. If one is in Krishna consciousness, he cannot be morose. And I looked up at him, and he was looking right at me. But he didn't ever single me out. If he had, I would have run and left. But when he said it, I realized, all day long you were thinking about leaving, and that's why you were so unhappy on the street all afternoon. And Prabhupada would catch me like that all the time. He always seemed to be saying the right thing to me, but he was never saying it to me personally, so it didn't make me feel self-conscious. It was like magic.
Just like to ask Malati to say a few words, maybe whatever you want, but during the time at Betterton Street, when we lived in such poverty, maybe some of the things that you remember, what sustained us, and some of the trials we went through to get us through that long period. Probably about a year, I think it was.
I think Guru Das and Jamuna were living on the top floor, right? You and Janaki were in the middle floor. And then in the, like here they don't say first floor, it's ground floor, first floor. Right? So the first floor was the temple room where we ate, and Shamsundar stayed there. But because I had the kid, I was down in the basement with the car, the bathtub, the kitchen, and all the, there in the base, well this was the ground floor. In the basement there was some kind of a weird newspaper. So all these pot-smoking hippies were always walking through to get down to their newspaper. So I had this room that was made out of a box. And it was part of this whole setup next to the shower and the kitchen and the car. I'll stay down there.
And the shower didn't work so well or so.
So actually the thing is that we used to go out all the time. We'd have engagements practically every night at someone's house. So we didn't look around and see our own situation as being that depressing because we were always going to the next engagement, jumping in that car and driving. And not just in England, we drive all over, not just in London, but we drive all over England. It would be really foul weather, and Guru Das and Mukund and Janaki would be in the back of this pickup truck. Then we'd add the Brahmacharya's pollution car, and there's a Pada and Big Vijay, they'd all be huddled in the back, and we'd be flying around England doing these, house programs and hall programs, basically with Indians.
Do you remember one engagement we went to? I'm not going to mention the person's name, he may be here, but we did go to this man's house, and the prasadam was so awful that Jamuna was in the bathroom throwing up. Do you remember that? And that was really, hot running. And so then, this is digressing a little bit, at John Lennon's estate, this guy comes to me and says he wants us all to come to his house, and I didn't even let Prabhupada know that we were invited. He sneaks by me like I used to do to the devotees in San Francisco, and he gets to Prabhupada and he says, "Would you please come to my house?" And Prabhupada says, "Yes." So I then said to Prabhupada, I said, we went to his house and Jamuna was throwing up in the bathroom. And, they just kind of wants us to be dancing elephants or something. It really was a waste of time. Kind of 3 neighbors showed up or something. And so Prabhupada said, "Yes, I know that, but I have to accept, and you must find a way to cancel it." So we were going to these kind of things in the truck like that.
Actually, I had a memory of before we actually came here, and you were mentioning that we were in Montreal, and before we left, we were asking for Srila Prabhupada's blessings, and we had it in our mind we wanted to do something that none of us had actually got to do up until that point, and that was we wanted to touch his feet. So we asked him if we could touch his feet. Actually, we asked Govinda Garsundar, and they asked him, and he said yes. So the day that we were leaving to get on the plane to fly from Montreal to New York, we all went in one at a time, and we put our head on his feet, and he put his hand on the back of our head. And at that point, I think that's when we got the strength to carry out this mission.
Prabhupada told me a humorous story about this. that one who's a spiritual master has to be very strong spiritually, because if someone may touch your feet, you have to take their karma and you may get sick. And it happened to me in Barsana, India, that the whole town started touching my feet before I could go like this, please don't. I mean 60, 70, 80 people, and I was surrounded, and I got sick that night. And I remember Prabhupada then went on with the story that if somebody touches your feet and you become sick karmically, or you may, that's why you pat them on your head so you can give them their karma back.
He said you have to let them do it because it said that they can get deliverance by getting the dust from a Vaishnava's feet. It means their instruction, he said, but we have to take it literally also. He said, so you have to let them touch your feet, but when they do, so touch their head.
So then we were asked to go to India, and the Manor was secured, and I would like to hand the microphone over to anybody else who has anything else to say, if you have any remembrances, but I would again like to remind everyone that we're very fortunate to be sitting here and knowing one another because of Srila Prabhupada, and I hope everyone takes as much opportunity to really recognize each devotee and the devotion in themselves, and be kind to yourselves and each other. Thank you very much.
I really wasn't here in England until after all this pretty much took place, except for Bhaktivedanta Manor did come while I was here. But one thing I did want to point out is that what these three and their wives did at that time really meant a great deal to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada used to say that London is the hub of the world. And he considered this London center to be the most important center. He said the world culturally still looks to England and to London. It's like the center. It has tremendous social influence on the whole planet. He said things like Germany and France, England and the United States lead the world. If any one of them was to become Krishna conscious, the rest of the world would follow. We were here thinking in those days in terms of making England Krishna conscious. It was like a very idealistic, but it was we really wanted to do it, and that again it made it fun, and all kinds of facilities came because of it. But it took a tremendous amount. He probably used to take such pride. He said, my Guru Maharaj sent Ban Maharaj, a big sannyasi, to England, and he came back in disgrace. He said it is not possible to make them Krishna conscious. Right? And I have sent 3 young householders and their wives, and in 6 months they have got a center. And I mean, he beamed about it for a long time. When I actually moved into the temple on Frederick Street in San Francisco, about, I think 2 days after, they all departed for London. So these are legendary heroes to me. I used to hear about Sundar, Guru Das, and other devotees like Kamal and Mr. John and Jayana, and they would just tell me what great persons, how wonderful they all are in different ways. We all wanted to meet them. We were doing Sankirtan along the West Coast, and our objective was to collect money in different cities so we could come to England, because this is where it was really happening. And Prabhupada actually settled a bunch of us in Los Angeles and just kept us there. He wouldn't let us come to England because he said, I want to make the Los Angeles Temple into an example center for the whole movement. So, I'm just getting some findings here, but it's okay. Just that it took a lot of dedication and Srila Prabhupada's blessings and his great personal push to do it. And I felt very lucky when finally in 1970 Prabhupada elected to go to England, or to go back to India with disciples. And I was a brahmachari. I had established a little center, so they picked me they wanted some brahmacharis and some householders. And so they asked me if I wanted to go, and I found out that Guru Das and Jamuna and Shamsundar and all those people were going. I just couldn't. Well, I wanted to go anyway, but I was especially happy to go then, and then to come over here to European side, actually was to Brussels. And the devotees were staying with one Kiradakashayi in Brussels, And that's where I remember I came to the door and Jamuna was there, and she fed me right away, and it was delicious. You know, brahmachari, you feed them. And then I met Guru Das, met Shamsunder. There was a mix-up with the tickets, and the tickets were paid for twice by mistake. So Shamsunder had to stay back to clear up the problem in Amsterdam. There was no center there at that time. And I seized the opportunity. I asked him if he wanted some company for a few days since he'd be there alone. So I stayed back when everybody flew to India for 1 week. We stayed and Shamsunder got the tickets cleared up, and then we didn't have anything to do, so we took a train to Paris. And this is what I mean about fun. We had a great time. They were doing Sankirtan on the streets in Paris, and it was like a running guerrilla operation. I mean, the police would come in these black vans and just throw the devotees right in the van and drive them to the jail anytime they could. There was a devotee named Shuddhidas, and his entire job, he wasn't chanting during the kirtan party, he was watching for cops in both directions. And as soon as he saw him, he'd blow a whistle. He had a whistle. And the devotees would run in all directions. And then that way, very few of them would get caught. They couldn't chase them all. Right? Then they had a plan. We'll reconvene 3 blocks away, and we'll start again over there. You know, and everybody would meet, and they'd go right on with the kirtan. It was like that kind of a thing. So whatever you did, it was really kind of exciting because it was so, well, it wasn't very established, and so everything was a fresh experience every day. Kind of. We had a lot of fun, I remember. But then, as far as how I came to be here, because that was also part how we came to England, is that later on we got to India. We traveled around with Prabhupada for a while in different places, which was a fascinating experience. You'll see pictures sometimes of kirtans going on at different people's houses. And the very high top class of Hindu Vaishnava society was accepting us because we were properly marked and because Srila Prabhupada was with us. And so they were just amazed, but they took us in as Vaishnavas instead of Westerners. Normally they won't even let a Westerner into their house because they figure he's a meat eater and like that. But just because of our robes and tilak and the fact that we were with Srila Prabhupada, we got this amazing experience of seeing how old and established Vaishnava families have been living for generations. And they're always prosperous families. Even if they're not rich, Krishna just takes care of those families. They worship the deity, they have clean homes and wonderful prasadam. We got treated to so many different kinds of prasadam all over northern India. But then after a while, the life membership program was started, and I got settled in Calcutta making life members. When I said I got settled, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else after that because I was one of the few people that would go out and actually make the life members, mostly Giriraj and myself. And later on, Gargamuni came and made a lot of life members also. So we didn't get to travel much, but Prabhupada appreciated the life memberships a lot because that was his way of establishing the movement in India. He wouldn't let us chant the streets in India. He said, people will think you're beggars. So a lot of times the brahmacharis just didn't have anything to do. We get into quarreling in the afternoons. That's because we were sitting there full of prasadam and couldn't go out and chant like we usually did. But then the life membership program became more important. But if you've ever done any preaching work in India, one of the things is that even though many of the people there have heard a lot of things about the Vedas and Krishna consciousness, they don't usually do them, and they don't really like to hear about it, therefore, because they're not doing them. So what we used to hear almost every day, 2 or 3 times a day, as we were starting to preach to people, and said, oh, it is all right, we know all these things. Yes, Krishna is very nice, we know all these things. And even Prabhupada himself sometimes used to seem a little bit frustrated in India with the attitude, because the people seem to be more interested, like we'd be in Mayapur, and Prabhupada would be telling them how much money we spent to get there. It cost so many $1,000s, and so many people have come, therefore it amounts to this much money we have spent. And everyone's going, oh, oh. But even Prabhupada would look at me and he'd make a face, because he was bored with he had to bring out the material side of our organization to impress them, because they weren't hearing about Krishna very freely. So after a while, for a person who really liked to preach, it was a little bit, frustrating. So I felt really lucky one day when Shamasunder walked up to me in Calcutta. I'd been there for months. And actually, that's where I took sannyas. And he said, I got a letter from Dhananjaya, who was the president at Berry Place at that time. And there's so many new devotees there in England, and he's the only senior devotee, and he's so busy doing business and running the temple that he doesn't have time to spend much time with the devotees. So he needs someone to go to give classes like that and kind of teach the devotees the basics and things about Krishna consciousness. And well, he was kind enough to ask me if I might like to do it, and I said yes immediately, because I could just see the opportunity to preach opening up, and to more vibrant audiences, like you're making us talk right now. I was thinking about the swans, how they can separate milk from the nectar. I never could understand how they can do it, but that's a Vaishnava saying. But devotees, when they're hearing nectarine stories, they're just like the swan. They're just drinking up the nectar. And it brings it out of us, to remember these things and tell you about them also. I just love looking at all your faces, especially since I haven't seen many of them for so long. But in any case, that's how I happened to come. And I came right into that very place scene when it was so crowded and also such an ecstatic temple. The kirtans was just, everybody was just off the floor all the time. It was a very joyful atmosphere, actually. And again, because of Srila Prabhupada and because of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya. So.
I think one thing that's really important to remember is, you started on this one, is that I believe that that Prabhupada spent more personal time guiding the rise of the London Temple than any other single branch of the society. He was here, I remember calculating at one point, but he spent more than 50% of his time for several years living here, staying here, Berry Place, or we had apartments for him in different parts of London, and eventually here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. In fact, he stayed here when we got the temple, what, for 6 months or 5 months, a long period of time.
Yeah.
It was very unusual for him because he liked to travel constantly and see how everything was going. So just remember, you're in the most important, Prabhupada's the most important center for Krishna consciousness is right here.
Good point. Yeah.
He guided everything about the development of the temples. He wanted every detail brought before him as we built the temple, as we expanded our activities here. He wanted to know everything that was going on, and he gave personal guidance every day for almost every aspect of what went on here.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, more than any other center.
It's also the fact that we were here for a few years, and this was the establishment or the beginning of this whole thing. I haven't been here for 20 years. It's you devotees that have been maintaining this center in this area that Srila Prabhupada wanted more than anything for 20 years. So all glories to your service to Srila Prabhupada. And, who can understand what Srila Prabhupada's exact situation is now? We know what he was with us then, and we know that he's gone to greater glories in the association of Krishna in some capacity. But we know that what he wanted then, he wants now. And we can also understand that in spite of his not being present to guide it at this time, really Krishna consciousness is coordinated by Krishna from within our hearts. When Srila Prabhupada speaks to us, it's like Rishikesha is controlling his senses. Krishna is speaking through him to us. That's how we accept the spiritual master. And similarly, if we want to please Srila Prabhupada, even if there's some obstacle or problem, he's not only in our hearts, he's also in the hearts of the politicians and people that may have other ideas. And he can bring wonderful things about if we simply maintain sincerity. The main thing is purity and sincerity. For example, when we were in Edinburgh, Scotland, back in 1972, I guess it was, 72 or 73, there was a city council member, I don't remember his name, but he went on a vendetta to get the temple thrown out of Edinburgh. A particular individual city councilman actually was working the city council to throw us out of town. He brought a newspaper reporter to the temple with him and said, this is how these people are, this is how they live. Of course, Tribhuvanatha spoke up and started speaking to the reporter, and it became a favorable encounter from the devotee's point of view, but this man persisted, and I believe it was a heart attack. And he died suddenly of a heart attack right in the midst of his attempt. When that Mr. Nair in Bombay was trying to stop the purchase of the Juhu land, when he got an infected leg and died or something like that, a person started a newspaper in Glasgow called Horse Feathers. Some of you may recall, it was a communist-oriented newspaper, and his main things were attacking religion and capitalism. And he attacked Christ in the magazine, and he attacked Prabhupada. He had a picture of Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasa inside the front cover with a blasphemous little title and an article attacking devotees just out to get our money, and like that. It was a nasty article. Some of us wanted to take some libel action, and I was advised, no, don't glorify them by doing it. It's too insignificant. Before the second issue of the magazine could come out, the man who was the publisher was hit by a car, his legs were broken, and he died. So, in Krishna consciousness, if we are actually wanting what is desired by the spiritual master in Krishna, where there's a will, there's a way. So if there's a problem about the matter, remember that and persevere. It'll be okay.
Another reminiscence, we've been asked to continue for a while, was the guerrilla tactics you were mentioning in Paris were actually started here, and they were trying to arrest us all the time in Piccadilly Circus for obstruction. But we knew this one-way street. They'd come down with the van, and we'd go down the one-way street, and they couldn't catch us. So then they got hip to that. And so we had planned with Derek Taylor, who was very also helpful in our recordings and renting marquees at Plimpton and so many things. And the police were saying, if you do this once more, we're going to have to arrest you. So we had a plan that we would do a Kirtan Kirtan in a double file, 2 people, with Mandakini and Jyotirmayi in the front, and then we were all behind. And I was in a plain clothes, like a trench coat, London fog, whatever, and Tamal Krishna had a businessman's hat for some reason. So I used Tamal Krishna's business hat, and I had the camera, and the plan was, when the police came to arrest us, that the whole line would go, going down like this on the knees or sitting like this, and the picture came out great. This big, hovering, bullish policeman, and Mandakini, you know, her angelic faces. And it was great, and I took it over to this newspaper I was flogging photos to from the Albert Hall, the Raven at Albert Hall, we'll have to talk in. But so the picture came out great. This big hovering policeman, and they were all down like this. It really made the police look bad. And then I said, okay, now go back to the temple after the picture, and I went to the, got it developed, and then they followed me and Yogeshwar. They arrested us. It's only 2. So then we get into the court, and so I pointed out, I said that if the police were so good at allaying the obstruction, then why were we arrested on Shaftesbury Avenue on the way back to the temple? Why didn't they arrest us at Piccadilly Circus? So the judge said yes. And I said, maybe the police should be doing something different than arresting people who are chanting the holy names of the Lord. And the judge looked over his little bifocals and looked at, is this true, officer such and such? And so it was going good. But the judge didn't want to let it go there, so he said, but I must say, and they all called us Mr. Grant at the time, I must say, Mr. Grant, that you have to parade in these costumes. So I said, well, are you going to give up your wig? I said, if the wig represents the law, these dhotis represent the Lord. Also, this is not in chronological order, but the Arts Laboratory people decided to have what would you call it, an event at Royal Albert Hall called the Alchemical Wedding. And so the idea was that everybody was going to be silent in this big hall. So I said, yeah, you can invite us, but I just have to tell you up front that sometimes Krishna conscious silence is chanting and maybe even preaching. But they liked us and they invited us anyway. Now, John and Yoko went to it in a bubble. They were walking around in a plastic bubble, and this was after the Hells Angels and Ken Kesey were there, and it was a big scene. John Peel, and there was a renaissance going on in Britain at the time. It was more like a small town, and the people who were searching or doing something that was exotic, like Krishna consciousness. They knew each other. And so we were in this big hall, and what? Paid us to make prashadam? Fantastic. And they paid Malati to make prashadam. You want to talk more about it? Anyway, we had a plan. We always had a plan how to inject the Krishna conscious thing. There was this big alchemical wedding, silence, and there was a line, and you were supposed to be silent, and we were waiting in the wings. There was a line, and you weren't supposed to step over the line. But we were waiting in the wings for some indication to start chanting. And because we had been chanting already at the arts laboratory, one of these guys that was coming to the temple yelled out, "Om." He yelled, "Om!" And that was our signal. And we was like, from 6 directions we came, singly down with instruments going. And we started chanting, and the whole place erupted. Royal Albert Hall erupted. And I got on the mic. There was a blues band that started playing, and we were chanting Hare Krishna blues style, 12-bar blues. It was great. People were chanting. A woman got so excited that she took her clothes off. We had no idea about this. Yeah, no, it's true. Because I'll tell you why I'm saying it. Because I said, "Oh, great, some more photos to push Krishna consciousness in England." And I was doing this. Every time something happened, I'd take them and flog a photo to the newspaper. So I'm innocent. I'm saying, "Oh boy, look, there's the devotees in the front and everybody's chanting." And they take out this huge magnifying glass and they're going like this. And they said, we got it. And so there's this woman with her clothes up and a big hat. You really couldn't tell. It was like a little blob of silver bromide on the film. But they were all excited about it, and so I didn't know what to do. And they put a big thing on the front cover, Raven at Royal Albert Hall. And it was already done, and so I cut out the Raven or something like that and sent out just a picture of the devotees to Prabhupada. And it was a great event, and the woman who took her clothes off was someplace else. But we got a review in the underground newspaper. In their vegetarian loveliness, you can forget all ideas of corporealness, of like body consciousness. So with that review and the Royal Albert Hall erupting, eventually they shut off the microphones and stopped the event because you weren't supposed to do this appearing that night. But from that, it went on. Sorry? Dance. Yeah, well. Right. Well, telling the Krishna devotee not to dance doesn't go over well.
I was thinking of one. It's a kind of a, I guess it's a good time to tell it. We're supposed to go on until 2:30. It's not exactly about ISKCON in England, but it is about Europe, and several of the devotees here were there. I think Malati Prabhu was there. I know Shyam Sundar was there in Amsterdam. I think it was about 1973 with the installation of Lord Jagannath. Malati, were you there at that time also, or was that another time? I know you were in Amsterdam. Malati Prabhu used to take the temple in Amsterdam for a long time was right on the edge of the red light district. And those are, they're very unfortunate girls and men also, actually. And Malati's so kind, she used to take a package of popcorn prasadam around at night, around the neighborhood, and give popcorn to the girls so they'd get prasadam. That's kindness.
The original Lord Jagannath.
Malati stole the original Lord Jagannath. You know that story. You told me.
I was being kind, but she did speak to listen.
He was in Cost Plus, wasn't he?
Free England. Cost Plus is like an import store. And I went in there for a legitimate reason, and at the checkout stand there were 3 large barrels full of small objects, wooden objects. And the thing was, in that point in time, anything that had a sticker that said "Made in India" became immediately very mystical and, had to be spiritual. And so I was going by and I saw these things, and then I saw the stickers that made in India. So I picked one up and brought it home, and it was sitting on our mantle. I think Mukunda and Shamsundar brought it to Srila Prabhupada. I think you were there, right? And he asked, where did you get this? So Lalaji got it, and they brought me upstairs. I was down in the kitchen, and this was in his apartment upstairs. And he asked me if there was any other ones. And I said, yes, there was a lot of them. And he said, no, different. And I remembered there was 2 different ones. I had taken that one because the eyes were big. So I said, get them. So
Didn't Prabhupada do obeisances when you first held the deity out?
well, they were there. I wasn't there for that part of it.
Oh, they were there. Yeah, right.
So then
why he did it.
he turned to Shamsundar and he said, can you carve him big? And he made size with his hand. And Shamsundar said, yes. And he told me to get the other ones. So I went down and I stole Subhadra and Balaram. And Shamsundar and I went to this big lot. It's sort of a salvage yard on the bay in San Francisco, and we found some pieces of wood and to carve Jagannath with. And we had a house overlooking Haight Street. It was an apartment at Haight and Lyon. And we were on the first floor, and the place below had a roof that went out, so it sort of became our impromptu front porch. And Shamsundar would sit on that carving on the roof, carving the Jagannath, and then he brought them in the house. And one day Srila Prabhupada came to the door. It was an impromptu visit, and he came in, and he was working on Baladev or Subhadra, but Jagannath was pretty much finished. And he looked on the top of Jagannath's head. He goes, "What's that?" And that was a package of Pall Malls. And Shamsundar said, "Well, some cigarettes." And Prabhupada said, "Oh." He said, "Yeah, it's difficult to stop." He said, "But why don't you try just one less every day? And in that way you'll be finished." And then he looked up and he looked at all of us and he said, "Why let such a small thing as a cigarette stand between you and Krishna?" And that was very, very beautiful, and it seemed very reasonable. He was so loving and so gentle in his instructions to us. I'll tell another Jagannath story. After that, we decided that we'd give New York Temple as the prize. And the thing was, between New York and San Francisco, there was a lot of transcendental competition. And they were always sending us things to collect, and we had to pay for these packages. So we got an opportunity to return the favor. We sent them Lord Jagannath to collect. But we didn't inform them what it was. And we wrapped it really nicely. We put all these garlands on them. And by the time he arrived in New York, because it was hot, the garlands were rotten. And the devotees told me when they opened the case, it was just reeked, and there were these rotten flowers, and they didn't know what it was underneath.
Glorify our wonderful spiritual master, Prabhupada Ji.
Harry Bo, I know we all appreciate the nice reminiscences we've been hearing. Now it's time to take Prasadam. Now, we've had a lot of debate about this. Not whether or not to take Prasadam, but where to take Prasadam. So, we think that it's not going to rain. So, if everyone can kind of make their way now over to the lake area, we'll be having our picnic outside. Now, the coaches for Harinam Sankirtan will be leaving just after 4 o'clock. Now, we've got room for 360 people, but we've only sold 90 tickets. So, we'd like to plead with everyone, to buy your coach tickets, otherwise we're going to take this incredible financial bet. Haribol.
We don't need to talk to the Prabhupada, so we can make it happen.
Prabhupada.
John? Diana? Maybe Prabhupada's room is a good place.
Oh, yeah? No, if I'm having trouble remembering anything, really. You know, because part of the thing is that, you know, try and clear your mind. Samskara, trying to wipe it away, and I'm doing this, trying a lot of meditation. I've been doing this other
here. That's a long time ago. Yeah. And then I met you at Suchi's house and at your gallery. But I didn't know. Most of the time I didn't know it was you.
सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं करो धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं करो
This Hare Krishna thing, I was in the beginning, I was with this thing.
How long ago was that?
That's about 20 years ago.
Wow.
So this 21 days is my fencing 2 years.
And your friends?
My friends are just friends, yeah.
Have they been here before?
Yeah, they have, yeah.
We've been coming for donkey's years.
Oh, very
Come all
nice.
the time. Every time there's a festival, we come.
Excellent. Very nice. Have you seen the big tent?
Yes, we have. It's
That's
wonderful,
nice.
nice and airy, yeah.
Very good.
I can't believe it, I've been coming here 21 years. Wow.
Time goes by. Huh? Good.
So you around here? You from around here?
No, we're from Worcester. We're visiting this weekend.
You still do colour photography?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, really? Okay, well, no, not yet. You do? Radha Krishna. That's good. What were you doing then? Serving Krishna. When you first started?
Right after the
Then I went back to Alright, so what do you think of the festival? Very nice. Do you enjoy yourself? Yeah, really good. Great. Basically, I didn't meet Prabhupada much. Basically, I got the connection. I was a hippie. I chanted Hare Krishna non-stop for 5 years now. I got the results. Good. I know what it is. Alright. I never got involved with people or joined, but I went away on my own. 5 years I went heaven, hell, anywhere, and I just kept chanting all day. And after that, I got the rewards. And I'm not going to say what they are.
Come back from LA and there was an American.
So what for you has been the most outstanding part of the festival?
Well, a lot of it.
I think it's refreshed my memory that it really was like this Thursday that I've come. Really? Because it was like a family. I really went away feeling full of love. I didn't ever think anything about the religion. I just felt, well, you know, I really thought the teaching was full of love. Which has always kept me in the main thing was the message was Krishna was love. And that's what Srila Prabhupada was giving us. That was it. That was the bottom line. You can do all these different things, but you always come back to back to God.
I swear, I was much better than this when I first got back.
But it works. Well, it's nice to see all these devotees here. I didn't get involved in doing anything else. I just straight into the mantra. I just went
Yeah.
walking in the history. That's exactly what Srila Prabhupada is delivering to all of us. It's the Hare Krishna. It works. Maybe people have come and gone over a 21-year period, and I don't know.
always rely on that the ultimate guru is the Mahamahamentra. I mean, the gurus can come, gurus can go, all sorts of things can happen. You do the game. Guarantee it.
All right, that's
That's all I can say. That's all I can say. You know, my testimony, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, you've been on
keep in touch and
that's great. I certainly will.
it's a nice message for all the other guys, all right?
That's great. Why don't you stick around for the tent program? There might be something in the tent.
All right, yeah, you're not going now, but I'll give you a bit of space. So you can...
Thank you very much, Pierre.
Yeah,
Anyway, my hands are really dirty. I've just been eating. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
I say it once, I mean it.
That's great. I'm just trying to learn how to mean it myself. But
Hare
it's
Krishna.
wonderful.
Like
This
that.
is beautiful.
God is love. God is beautiful.
Hare Krishna. That's great.
Right.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare...
What is this? This is summer weather.
Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Krishna Vrishaya Purane Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Karine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhakti-jani Shatvarine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Karine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani
Here we are at the auspicious site of the first Sri Sri Radha Krishna temple in London. On the ground floor, behind this arched window, is the temple where Sri Sri Radha the temple where Sri Sri Radha appeared in this world, or appeared here with our movement, where Srila Prabhupada installed them. And on the first floor, the front windows, is Srila Prabhupada's room. We have a small supply of rose petals, which we're going to pass around. If everyone just takes a small amount, there won't be enough to go all the way around. But if you all just take a small number of flower petals and pass the box around, please. And together we can say the prayers. The Pushpa Puja prayers, and then we can throw the flower petals at the sacred place.
We can close here. I mean, people are staying here. They won't mind, huh? I mean, where do you can do that? We're getting a push. Haribo! You've changed your program. Oh, very good.
And the flower petals have been distributed. Please say after me. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Prananjana Salakaya Chakshu Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna
Bhaktivedanta, Swami, iti namine, Namaste, Saraswati, Deve, Gauravani, Pracharine, Nirvisesa, Punyavadi, Paschatya, Desa, Dharine, Srila Prabhupada ki Prabhupada ki
Time just down here is where it made my Jai Srila which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together. Thus the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death, is extinguished. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Hare
This was the original temple, the first place they had it.
This is the site of the first devotee temple, I think you call it that. Malati will perhaps be able to say a few words.
Very few words. In this lower level right here was a garage. That's where we stuck our car. It was behind the garage was the box that I lived in, and behind the box that I lived in was a shower. And then across from that was our cooking facility, and then in the far corner was the stairs to the downstairs, and everybody came through this front door, no matter where you wanted to go. So the very top floor, the Jamuna and Gurudas lived in the Black Panthers. The second floor was all the other people with Janaki Mukunda, and this floor here was our temple with Lord Jagannath and Shamsunder. And that's where we would try to have our own meetings. And then down here around, so around the corner is where the arts lab was. And actually, the arts lab was more of a temple base than this place because more people came there than came here. So we would go there on Wednesday nights and bring prasadam and chant and pray to Krishna that we would get our own temple in the near future.
We shall now pass. We have to go to the end and double back down the next street because it's a one-way system. And we shall go past, I think, the site of the arts lab on Drury Lane at the end of the road.
Hare
It's now arti time inside the temple, and we have an opportunity to have darshan of Sri Sri Radhalandaneshwara. The curtains will be kept open until 7:45, which is 15 minutes longer than normal, so that there will be time for everyone to have darshan. But let's not all go in at once, because it'll be too crowded if we do. So gradually, if we can filter into the temple, some I think have already gone in, others can gradually go in, and if it's very crowded, just wait a little while and you can get in. Curtains will be open till 7:45, at which time I believe the coaches will be here to take those of you who are going back to the manor. Yeah! Shri Krishna Sankirtan
Dr. Harris, I mean, he's not here. Dr. Harris to come along.
Right, Jai Lakshman.
Jai Lakshman. Dr. Harris.
Oh, he's good.
Coming. Hare Ram.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada,
Key Jai! Thank you for everything, George.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was nice.
Actually, you know, Prabhupada said that one time after he did the Giant Parade. He said, George Harrison, Key Jai.
Yeah, that's right.
He said it 3 times.
He did that at the opening of the Manor.
Yeah,
George
that's
Harrison, Key Jai.
Well, we...
Okay, thanks everybody.
How do they know how many people are, how do they know how many they're getting?
Well, I think what they're doing, they get 2 at a time, and they look at this, then
Okay, start. All right, this is the first round.
I think that's the idea. It's going to be a slow process.
What a man, ladies and gentlemen, what a man. Just joined us. You're probably wondering why I humiliate myself like this in front of hundreds of people. Well, I can't help it. Can the kids remain seated? Sit down. The thought of Ajmil giving you mouth-to-mouth resuscitation makes you go on, doesn't it? Pretty funny, isn't it? Okay, that got him to read it right to 24. Even Chris, the Welsh wizard, looks like he's having trouble. Look at Richard from Hungary. Oh, this is amazing. And look at how small he is. That means he'll be easier to carry away. It's been a real pleasure having you here at Bhaktivedanta Manor, Chris. I wish you a long and happy life. With any luck at all. All right, now Sat Booj is in the lead. And Richard from Hungary is in second place. And Dr. Paul looks like he's out. I think your cow has kidney trouble. All right. They're taking a drink. They're taking a drink. Now, number 25 is staring at them, looking up from their plates. Gentlemen, are you ready? On your mark, get set, take Pashada. And that Booj gets off to an early start. He's chewing. Yum, 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 he says. 26. and the Gulab eating championship of the festival.
Or maybe the world.
Would you like an extra one?
Squeeze it, squeeze it. 27.
On your mark.
Yeah, get him the same size each time, that's fine.
On your mark.
No worries.
Get set. Enjoy your prashadam, gentlemen. If they ever see another gulab jamun, it'll be too soon, won't it? Yes, we're having them for breakfast tomorrow as well. And lunch and dinner. All in your honor. And it looks like...
Richie, go!
He's got it.
All right, calm down, folks. Calm down. Keep it under control.
Go on, Richie!
Wait, whoa. He's back in. Wait, he's back It doesn't look good for Bhaktivedanta. It's a dual-purpose necktie, Brishabum.
Richie, just go for it!
You can also use it as a raincoat. Midliner.
Oh, my bike there.
That one's 28. 30 is the record for the festival.
You have to do 31.
Can we have more water? Is there any water, please?
Yeah. Richie, you can do it. Richie. Go, Richie. Richie. Paracrime.
No, not there. No. Out the way. Move.
What? Richie has a word for the crowd here. After a running competition around the temple. He's going to have a running competition with Sat Bhuj around the temple after he's finished. A milking competition. Sat Bhuj said he's going to milk Dr. Richie. All right, now, gentlemen, please sit down. Please sit down.
Stand up.
Yes, do you wish to stand up and eat?
Can't eat prashadam standing up.
No?
Everybody was sitting down before.
All right, then sit down. The gaming commission has ruled.
Richie, come on, Richie, you can...
Round of applause for Sat Bhuj. Thank you, Sat Bhuj.
Please. This is a world
Dr. Richie has
record.
just finished number
World
26.
record.
They're not all cooked, you know. That wasn't cooked the last one. They find some cooked gulaps. Nice dark, small dark ones, you know. Come on, 29.
Number 28 is in his bowl.
Put them all there.
You eat this, you just have 3 more.
Number 29 is in his bowl.
When you finish, stand up and put your hands up.
Hey, move to you.
All right, Richie, you may eat at your leisure.
Competition is all yours.
Folks, we've been really privileged to be here to witness this amazing event for the first time at Bhaktivedanta Manor. Under the rules of the Gaming Commission,
This is 20.
I declare that Dr. Richie from Hungary is the Bhaktivedanta Manor champion. International Olympic Gulab Jamun Commission, Dr. Ritchie is going to go for the World Reunion Gulab Jamun Eating Championship of 30, well, he's going to go for 31. Aren't you, Dr. Ritchie?
Yeah.
Are you sure about this, Dr. Ritchie?
Yeah. Go on, Richie.
He's holding 28, number 28 in his hand.
3 away from the world.
That's 28.
No, it's 28. 29 still in his ball.
The death of Dr. Ritchie. We'll dance with the body around the
28. 3 away.
That's all right. After we're real good.
Come on, only 4 more.
To the drop down.
Go, Richie. That's for winning.
Trey, wow, look.
Number 20.
Take it easy.
Number 28 didn't quite make it there, folks. Come on, bring it home to Mama. There's 27 in there, and they want company.
Come on.
Was going for the world record a rash decision? That is the question.
No.
Can he lie in tomorrow morning? No. Can Richie lie in tomorrow morning?
He can have a lie-in tomorrow morning.
If he does it.
You can go before 15.
All right, there goes 28 is going down in pieces there.
Stuff it in.
Over the teeth and through the gums. Look out, stomach. Here it comes. Dr. Richard is admiring the texture and quality of the gulab.
Two more.
These gulabs were made by Mother Satya, I believe.
No, Shama Sundari.
Oh, no, excuse me. These gulabs were made by Mother Shama Sundari. And without her, this competition couldn't have been possible. Or Richard. And Richard, of course, yes. Well, someone else would have won, I mean. Have to be him.
Put another one on. Three more.
Okay, now that's number 29 staring you in the face. That's 29 there. Here comes number 30. Number 30 is moving towards the plate. See it move across the grass, and there it goes. 29 and 30.
Take your time.
That's the one right there.
And number 31.
For the world record.
World record. Small one.
Number 31. Number 31.
You trained it well. I gotta say, I thought he was the winner, you know, way back early on. And then the Welsh Wizard came in, but it's kind of a shooting star, I'm afraid.
We didn't get him in enough training. That's the problem.
Maybe once he's...
All right, Richard, are you ready to go for number 29?
I think so.
See, once you lose a bit of hair, it helps.
Yeah.
And there's number 31 being prepared and dropped in the winner's bowl.
31.
And here's number 29. 29 is in his hand. He's giving it a good squeeze.
Oh dear. Checking the texture.
Yes.
Is it cooked, Richie?
25.
Is that suitable for the other little tribe that you're forming? They'll all be so happy together, playing games inside your stomach. It's expanding. Oh, what are you booing at?
No barracking.
All right. He's chewing half of it. He's chewing half of it.
Stick it in.
This is an amazing feat, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely amazing.
I could never done that. I fit it in 6.5.
You tell the story about Liquid Beauty.
Not now.
story about Bhima.
What story about Bhima?
There's something afraid of people.
Yeah, pray to Bhima, the voracious eater. Pray for the mercy of Bhima, performer of Herculean tasks. Keep chewing, Dr. Richard. That is 29 down the hatch. Only 2 more pull-ups separate him from the record.
He's on 29. He's finished 29. One more and he's got the
All right, gentlemen, does he have any second thoughts?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think?
Yay!
Can he do it? Is he the champ?
Come on, Richie. Richie, you can do it.
The show. We've got a world champion coming. There is no problem.
No, world champions.
But Richie, yes, Richie, can you leave room for the ice cream?
Ice cream.
Sweet, right?
Is Richie the same feast everybody else eats?
Yeah, Richie, did you eat the feast? Stand up. All right, Richie, did you eat the feast that we all ate? No? Why?
Don't worry, we saved you for this all day.
That's it. All right, we know you can count. Now shut up.
This is equaling the world record for the Prabhupada Reunion Feast, 30.
Yes, the record of 30 is held by Sridhar Swami, the GBC Minister of Life Membership, set at the Melbourne Prabhupada Reunion Festival in 1992. I think it was November, was it? October? Or was June? June 92.
Wait, you have to get to know.
And this is May 95.
He's here.
It's true.
She did 70. That's what Kerma said before the competition. Before the competition.
Oh.
But at the competition. At the competition, the record.
The world record!
One more. Just one more. One bite more.
Keep chanting.
Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sridhar told me it was 30. He said it was 30. Sridhar told me it was 30. This is partisanship here.
He did 30, but the winner did 32.
He said he was the winner. Well, folks, this has been an exciting competition. I'm glad you've been able to join us here at the Bhaktivedanta Gulab eating stadium.
Oh, go on.
Okay, Bhakti Richard. Okay, all right, Bhakti Richard. Bhakti Richard, straight in the towel at 30 and a half.
Without further ado, I'd like to hand over, to one of our most eminent devotees, a devotee who needs no introduction, so I'm not going to give him one. One of the very, very early and respected eminent English devotees, Mr. Ranshore.
Hare Krishna. Well, I had been looking forward to a very peaceful and inspiring day, listening to everyone talking down there on the grass, but I've been given the unenviable task of choosing who's going to speak. It's not a very difficult choice to make because there's so many, or it is a very difficult choice because there's so many great Vaishnavas here today who I want to hear from personally. I'd like to begin by asking a few of our older brothers and sisters to come and sit on the stage here, just so as we can get things moving. We've got a lot of empty seats here. Srivikram Swami, thank you. Rubatanandam, Room. And Prabhu Vishnu, Mahavishnu, Swamis, please come up and sit on the stage.
Well, it's very nice to be back here and see a small seed flower into such fruit. So many wonderful devotees. Gardens and devotees doing nice service. It's very gratifying when you plant or help plant a small seed and see it flower so nicely. Yesterday I spoke about some remembrances of Britain, and today some people were suggesting maybe tell some stories about India, but I'm not going to do that right now, Prabhupada and Vrindavan. We were just talking a little while ago, some Prabhus and myself, and we were talking about Prabhupada and glorifying and preaching. And what I always saw in Prabhupada, being expert in preaching, Leela Prabhu was talking about a magician that came to Vrindavan and wanted to show Prabhupada all his tricks. And this has happened many times. Somebody's come to Prabhupada and his caretakers, his servants, his disciples have said, no, maybe this person shouldn't bother Prabhupada, whatever. But what I've always noticed is that Prabhupada sees the individual, no matter who they are, he sees inside, and the magician was allowed to do his tricks, and then Prabhupada said, my trick is that I can help you to overcome pain and suffering, etc. Can you do that? Now, I always noticed that when somebody would come to Prabhupada, let's say, I remember one gentleman, he was the manufacturer of Balti's buckets. And he came to Prabhupada, and he was kind of a blowhard, that spoke a lot, loud. But Prabhupada was very genuinely interested, and he asked, how do you manufacture these buckets? And the man was saying, I put a ribbon of steel here, and I use rivets and this and that. And Prabhupada was genuinely interested in what this man did and how the buckets were made. When I first was doing photography in San Francisco, Prabhupada wanted to know about photography, and I showed him my light meter. And when you cover the photo cells and then take your hand away, the needle jumped. And Prabhupada did that for half an hour, playing with the toy of the light meter, watching the needle jump. So he genuinely listened and was interested in everybody as a personality. And he listened to how the buckets are manufactured. And then at a certain point, he found a common thing to turn it into a preaching idea. But it wasn't like, I think I'll wait 5.5 minutes and then nail him. With preaching, it was, I'm genuinely interested in this personality, and that I'll also have a chance to find out how this person thinks, feels, and in that way, I can give him some Krishna consciousness. So that's what I always noticed, and I feel that it's very important that we just don't go outside for that, but we remain inside. If everybody is not happy and pleased within the group, then how can we go outside and preach? So it's very important that all the devotees are covered and cared for amongst each other. When I was in Vrindavan, I was asked to preach outside, and Prabhupada said, no, you can preach to the devotees in Vrindavan, because you're here. So it's the same thing, just very happy to be here, and there are lots of remembrances and glorifications for Prabhupada, but I just like to intimate that one of the many qualities that Prabhupada shows all the time is his great compassion. And sometimes I don't see it demonstrated that much. So I'd like to encourage everybody to be compassionate upon one another. It's a wonderful community, and we're a team. And this team can do great things, but I really pray and request that everybody remembers to be kind to each other as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Master. Thank you very much, Gurdas Guru. Gurdas was speaking about caring for devotees, and yesterday we were hearing about the wonderful family atmosphere which existed in the early temple in Bury Place. And I know that that was very largely due to Srila Prabhupada inspired Gurdas with that mood of affection, personal caring for devotees. And I've heard more than one devotee, many devotees, speaking of him as being the father of the community. And he behaved in really an exemplary way, caring for devotees, young and old, men and women, as if they were children in the family. Not in a patronizing way, but in a way to make them feel secure and know that they were appreciated. I think we all want to thank Gurdas very much for that. One of the very early members to join the community in Bury Place, in fact, was already a devotee in America. He came from America, and he was a very hard-working brahmachari who became, as I hear, the sort of spearhead of the brahmachari preaching activities in the early community. And he's with us today, Tribhuvan Swami. I'd like to call upon you to say a few things. If Mohan is anywhere within earshot, we need him. Mohan, are you anywhere? We need help with the microphones.
So thank you for inviting me to partake in your festival here. Get a chance to remember Srila Prabhupada and meet the devotees that we were serving with. Srila Prabhupada had requested me to come to London as soon as he heard that the devotees had a permanent temple. Before that, they were living in various places, so he hadn't wanted to send the brahmacharis. So then we were in New Vrindavan in May '69, and I had just finished, maybe it was June, I just finished my degree at university. So I had approached Prabhupada and asked him for some service, perhaps open a temple someplace. So then the word came from London that they had found a permanent place, 5-story building in the downtown centre of London. So he requested me to go. So I remember thinking that it would be something exciting to go to a foreign country and preach Krishna consciousness. And certainly I wasn't disappointed. Especially, I have very many memories. You say we can speak till 2. I'm sure I could speak till 2 o'clock just about the times that I can remember. Because Srila Prabhupada came at that time, and he stayed with us for 3 months. From, must have been early September to middle of December. And I was fortunate, Mukunda Maharaj gave me the service of giving Srila Prabhupada a massage every day. So that took about 1 hour a day. I was with Prabhupada. And I have many memories talking to him and so on. The overall impression I have is that at that period, Srila Prabhupada saved me in the sense that I was a little older. I'd been in the Navy, and when I finished college, by the time I came to Krishna consciousness, I was like 26, and I wasn't Naistika Brahmachari. I was smoking cigarettes and marijuana, and I used to, go to McDonald's hamburger place, and I was also addicted to gambling. So all 4 activities, sinful activities, I was frequented, or I had a habit of indulging in. So when I first came to Krishna consciousness, it was a little hard. And I was thinking, how can I maintain this brahmachari life and so on. But then when I got that opportunity to be with Srila Prabhupada like that every day for 1 hour, and to touch his body and to be very intimate, at least physically, with him, then I suddenly felt that I could maintain myself, that I could go on like this, indefinitely, being celibate and so on. And it really was a relief, because the sex life is such trouble. Either you have it or you don't have it, it's trouble. You think about it, it's trouble. If you have it, it's trouble. And it just by Prabhupada's association, I became relieved from that, at least to the point where I wasn't any more worried about maintaining myself. So there were so many stories. I remember once Srila Prabhupada, because I wasn't sure whether I should get married or not. I mean, like I mentioned. I remember once I was asking Prabhupada, and he would always say to me, it doesn't matter. He said, whether you're a grihastha or a brahmachari, it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to be Krishna conscious. So he could see I was a little older, and he didn't want to just, force me to do something that I did that later on I would regret. So he would always throw it back to me. But then I remember once at John Lennon's estate, he gave a lecture, and he was talking about his own life and how he was thinking how he could take sannyas, and his Guru Maharaj was coming to him sometimes in dreams and telling him that he should come out and take sannyas. And Prabhupada was thinking, how can I do that? I have my 5 children and so on. So then Prabhupada said, but by his mercy, I took sannyas, he said, now I have so many children. And he said, without the botheration of a wife. So the next day I was giving Prabhupada a massage, and I said to him, Srila Prabhupada, you were saying yesterday in the lecture that now that, if you took sannyas, that you didn't have any more botheration of the wife. So he knew what I was hinting at, because this was ongoing. So then Prabhupada just sat back and smiled. He said, I said that? So, in various ways, he dealt with us in such a way that, just like as Gurudas is mentioning, we were happy to be with him, to sacrifice for him. This was a point I was making the other morning also, that certainly Krishna consciousness is a sacrifice. There's austerity at every step. Who can deny it? But it becomes joyfully performed in relationship to someone you love. And Srila Prabhupada just had a way of dealing with us in such a way that we actually began to love him. I remember another time there that, as I said, he was there for 3 months, and so I was thinking all the time if I could only continue the service when he leaves also, and go with him and be his masseur. And Srila Prabhupada knew that, and I had asked him if I could. He said, well, let's see what Krishna wants. But when it came time for his going, then his secretary told me that actually he had arranged for another person to do that service, that Upendra. Upendra was going to continue the service because he was having some trouble. He wanted to be with Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada was going to Boston, so the Prabhupada servant said, don't bother him anymore with this request because he's already decided he's going to have another servant. So I was a little sad, but I thought I'd comply with it. And so when I spoke to him, I said, well, Srila Prabhupada, Purushottam said that you're not going to be needing me, to go with you. And he could see I was a little sad about it, but he didn't say anything. Then I thought, well, I don't want to just press him. I don't want to, force him to feel something special for me or to, say something like, well, you said I could go. So I just kind of said, I said to him, but Srila Prabhupada, that devotee that I never had met him, and I said, he's a nice boy. And Srila Prabhupada, he looked at me and very feelingly he said, but not as nice as you. And when he said that, it just went right into my heart. And then I just felt, melted that he was really so sweet and just so caring that how could I, not remain with him? How could I think of doing anything that might separate me from his association or from that relationship? That relationship became so important to me, more than any other relationship. And therefore I began to think how I can keep this relationship, just how I can make it grow, whatever I should do to please him so that he would reciprocate with me. I mentioned the other morning in class how he was so expert at reciprocating. It's like sometimes we say, if you take one step to Krishna, then he would take 10. Or the same with Srila Prabhupada. If you did a little something extra, then he would just reciprocate so nicely. So I began to feel that this relationship I have with Srila Prabhupada is something that nobody can take away from me. And I remember expressing that once to the devotee, saying that, Srila Prabhupada is ours. And the devotee got on my case about it. No, we shouldn't think that way, Prabhupada, about our spiritual master. But in a way, it's true. Krishna is ours, but that ours is not like the ordinary, mundane conception of possession. But actually, Srila Prabhupada is ours, and Krishna is ours. If we actually love him, then he'll never disappoint us. He'll never turn away from us. So in that sense, he's ours. And that relationship is eternal. We can cultivate it and make it more and more real. And the separation from, the physical or the vani or the vapu, it needn't interfere with that relationship. So I don't want to speak any longer because there's so many devotees. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Srila Swami. You were talking about Srila Prabhupada's mood of sacrifice and austerity, but joyfully performed. And I know that you have been a very inspiring example to generations of devotees on the path of renunciation, some of whom are present here today. Fruits of your example set in those early days in Bury Place. Joyfully renounced sannyasis, brahmacharis. Of course, we're all joyfully renounced to a greater or lesser extent. We have no God sisters on the stage, but I know there was one in particular, who spoke briefly yesterday, one of the early members of the Bury Place community, who felt very much a part of that early family, and as Gurudas Prabhu explained to us yesterday, Srila Prabhupada told the devotees at that time that he didn't consider the mixing of men and women within that small family atmosphere of the temple community to be ordinary mixing, because he said it was in the family. Is that right? It was not artificial. Prabhupada said that. So someone who I know felt that very strongly is Jyoti Mai. I'd like to call upon her now. Are you ready to come up, Jyoti Mai? She spoke briefly yesterday, but I know she has more things that she would like to tell us about those early days.
About birthday that I wanted to explain. Whenever I talk to devotees, I always tell them about this time. Because now, since many, many years, it is very difficult for devotees to feel that they have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, especially for all those who never met Prabhupada personally. So myself and many other devotees, we try to give them a connection with Prabhupada by talking to them about Prabhupada and all the different exchanges we had with him. But I also explain them how it's possible to feel a very, very strong relationship with Prabhupada through the devotees who lived with them, who met them, even though ourselves we might not have had so many exchanges with him. And I experienced that very, very much with these first devotees who were in London. So Gurudas, Jamuna, Mukunda, Janaki, Shamsundar and Marathi. Because when we joined the movement with Mandakini, Prabhupada was just there, so we saw him for these first 5 days when we arrived, but then we didn't see him for another year and a half or 2 years before we saw him again. But we felt very, very strongly the relationship with Prabhupada because of these devotees who were always talking to us about him, even though we didn't see him. And we always felt that Prabhupada was right there in the temple, and we developed for Prabhupada that same love and that same attachment that they had through what they were telling us. And the way they did it was absolutely wonderful, because at this time we did a lot of Harinam, especially with Trivikram Maharaj. We used to go something like 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon, and then we would go again in the evening. In the evening when we would go, we would be we were 10 or 15 devotees sometimes. But in the afternoon, we were only 4 devotees. And it was Trivikram Maharaj who was leading us, and us, the 3 new devotees, Mandakini, Ilarati, and myself. And for